Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the aftermath of the cowardly attacks on innocent tourists at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistani-sponsored terrorists on 22nd April, the Indian Navy's carrier battle group, surface forces, submarines, and aviation assets were immediately deployed at sea with full combat readiness in concert with the joint operation plan of the Indian Defence Forces. You may be aware that we tested and refined tactics and procedures at sea during multiple weapon firings in the Arabian Sea within 96 hours of the terrorist attack. The aim was to revalidate our crew, armament, equipment, and platform readiness to deliver various ordnance on selected targets precisely. Thereafter, our forces remained forward deployed in the Northern Arabian Sea in a dissuasive and deterrent posture with full readiness and capacity to strike select targets at sea and on land, including Karachi at time of our choosing. The forward deployment of the Indian Navy compelled Pakistani naval and air units to be in a defensive posture, mostly inside harbors or very close to the coast, which we monitored continuously. The Indian Navy maintained seamless maritime domain awareness throughout the duration and was entirely aware of the location and movement of Pakistani units. In effect, we had and continue to have good battle space transparency using our maritime domain awareness grid. As you are aware, our response has been measured, proportionate, non-escalatory, and responsible from day one. Accordingly, the calibrated approach considered all options, including the ability of the Indian Navy for offensive action from and at sea. As part of this escalation control mechanism, the application of force by the Navy was planned in a synchronized manner in coordination with the Army and Air Force, the highlight being teams from the three services working closely in an integrated manner. Along with the kinetic actions by the Indian Army and Indian Air Force, the overwhelming operational edge of Indian Navy at sea contributed towards Pakistan's urgent request for a ceasefire yesterday. As we speak, Indian Navy remains deployed at sea in a credible deterrent posture to respond decisively to any inimical action by Pakistan or Pakistan-based terrorists. Thank you. Samno Varna, Jai Hind. Now I'll hand over to Director General Military Operations for further proceedings.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the 10th of May, in the morning, even as we were getting into a huddle to wargame the events of the previous night, a routine exercise, I received a message on hotline from my counterpart in Pakistan seeking my willingness to communicate. Since our initial aim was to strike at terror camps, and all our actions in the subsequent days were in response to the intrusions and violations by the Pakistan Air Force and its army, it was decided that I would indeed speak with my counterpart. You are already aware, I've seen it being covered on national television, that my communication with the Pak DGMO was conducted at 15:35 hours yesterday and resulted in cessation of cross-border firing and air intrusions by either side with effect from 1700 hours, 10th of May, after he proposed that we cease hostilities. We also decided to further speak on the 12th of May, that's tomorrow, at 1200 hours, to discuss the modalities that would enable the longevity of this understanding. However, disappointingly, and must I add, expectedly, It took only a couple of hours for the Pakistan Army to violate these arrangements by cross-border and across the line of control firing, followed by drone intrusions across the expanse of the Western Front through last night and in the early hours of the morning today. These violations were responded to robustly and dealt with as they must be. We have earlier today sent another hotline message to my counterpart highlighting these violations of the understanding between the DGMOs on the 10th of May and our firm and clear intent to respond to these fiercely and punitively, if repeated tonight, subsequently, or later. In this regard, I must inform all of you that the Chief of Army Staff has earlier today conducted a security review and has granted full authority to our Army commanders for counter-actions in the kinetic domain in case of any violation by Pakistan. In the end, I pay my solemn homage to my 5 fallen colleagues and brothers from the armed forces and civilians who have tragically lost their lives in Operation Sindoor. Our hearts go out to the bereaved families, and we express our solidarity to them in this lifetime and beyond, at this grave juncture in their lives. Their sacrifices shall always be remembered and spoken of in glowing terms by a grateful nation. We have thus far, ladies and gentlemen, exercised, and my colleague Pramod highlighted this, immense restraint, and our actions have been focused, measured, and non-escalatory. However, any threat to the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and safety of our citizens will be met with decisive force. Jai Hind.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now open for questions. All right, now, since I would not know all of you, I would expect you to please raise the placard or your hand, and once I indicate, I expect you to please give out your name and the media group that you belong to. Keep your questions short so that we can take as many questions as possible. Also, ladies and gentlemen, kindly bear in mind that confidential aspects may not be answered by the 3 DGMOs. Right. I've got a lot of hands there. Let me start from the left. Left foot always in front.
And that concludes the press conference from the Indian PIB. We are joined by Major General J.K. Bansal, defence expert, to discuss what was just said by India's top defence officials today. Major General J.K. Bansal, thank you for joining us. There was an emphasis in this press conference that Operation Sindoor was created to punish terrorists. This is obviously very much addressing the fact that the Indian Army was targeting terror camps with Operation Sindoor, and that it originally wasn't targeting bases. This is, of course, a war on terror. How do you think that the officials put this forward to the public, reiterated that Operation Sindoor was a war on terror and not originally a war on Pakistan as a nation?
Good evening, Thomas.
Good evening.
Our army, our armed forces has been trained from the very beginning that we are doing Operation Sindoor to destroy the hideouts, camps of terrorists who had attacked our innocent civilians on 22nd April. That's what they were telling, that we did that only first, and there was no, this was from horse's mouth. The armed forces director general military operation, they are telling that what happens with all photographs, with all evidence, that this happens on such and such date, the seventh night, what happens, and then subsequently there was nothing. Whenever there was a retaliation, measured and precise response was given, and whatever was damaged or their destruction was done on their air defense system and their military assets, that has been very beautifully depicted and shown through pictures. This was absolutely transparent, not like Pakistan, that they had said that, yes, we have shot down 5 aircrafts of India. And
Yes.
once, yeah?
Major General J.K. Bansal, that was what was very, very clear, is the transparency of the Indian government in Operation Sindoor. How do you think that came across in comparison to the Pakistani government during these past few days?
Can you repeat the question?
I said you're completely correct in the fact that this was a very clear press conference. That the defence leaders there, they showed the targets, what the terrorist camps that they targeted, and this overall has been a very transparent press conference and over this conflict by the Indian Defence Ministry. I was wondering how you can compare that to how Pakistan has launched their public discourse in regards to their press conferences and their Defence Ministry in general in regards to transparency.
They have no transparency at all. As I told the Defence Minister, he said that we shot down 5 aircrafts of Indian Air Force. Once the question was asked, where is the evidence? They said, we have seen on social media. That is the answer, kind of answer they were giving. So they were having all mongering and misinformation. There was no transparency. They have been telling all lies, and they had been telling that, yes, there was the damage or we attacked their masjid, but it was not the case. We have shown all the evidence. So Pakistan always in the denial mode, and they just have no transparency, no evidence. Without any evidence, their political leaders and their armed forces people also, they always project untruth. And they had been telling that we have damaged the Sirsa airport, while it was never airbase. So many airbase, so many buildings they just mentioned, but there was no evidence, which was refuted by our military armed forces spokesperson, Colonel Sophia, yesterday, and there was whatever they were talking about, it was all fake. But whatever has been told in the press conference by India, it is all truth with evidence, with photography, no misinformation. Exactly whatever had happens is to be, and moreover, there is a control, there is a total discipline in our armed forces, and there is a perfect coordination between military and civilian leadership. While it is different, there is a contradiction in military and civilian administration in Pakistan. And in their parliament, one of the senator, they asked why this defense minister gone for the press conference when he is not aware of it. He does not have the things, why to do that. So these were the things.
Major General J.K. Bansal, obviously we have limited time here, but I just want to get some important talking points in. India states that they targeted terrorist sites in Pakistan and POK. Pakistan's claims, obviously, civilians were killed. And do you think there is a sort of nexus between the government and the military here?
No, there is a military is the government. There is no government, means there is no civilian government at all. Civilian government is a puppet. Whenever there is a press conference, when the civilian leader they talk, the chit was given by the army officers. So nexus in the sense the whole show is controlled by military in collusion with the terrorists. Thus the Pakistan military, they cannot fight, the army cannot fight with the Indian Army or Indian Air Force. So they do the proxy war through the terrorists. The terrorists are being trained, funded, and they are sent to Indian side to do a proxy war. And that is the whole issue is because they are generals, they are corrupt, they have sold this ammunition of 155 shell to Ukraine in $364 million. And when at the time of requirement, they did not have ammunition for more than 3 days or 4 days. That is the kind of thing. This is not the professional army. They run business, and no, there is no discipline among the rank and file. There is a great dissatisfaction, and there was a chances that there may be mutiny. And now, after this this terrorist, after this operation Sindoor by India, there may be civil unrest, and it may come to kind of civil war over there because they do not have food to eat, they don't have they don't have petrol, etc. The economy has gone to shambles, hardly having $6 billion, and they after this operation they went to the world that yes, we need money, and again telling all lies that this India has attacked them, while it was vice versa, other way around, and India protested India protested against this, that this money will be used to wage war against India.
Yes.
So Pakistan is totally a failed state with a terrorist state, and they don't have any government. It was told by Mr. Michael Rubin, former officers of Pentagon, that
Okay.
after
Major General J.K. Bansal, thank you very much for joining us. Apologies, we have